Frankenstein Makes a Sandwich, and other stories you're sure to like, because they're all about monsters, and some of them are also about food. You like food, don't you? Well, all right then. By Adam Rex. Part 2. The Phantom of the Opera can't get Pop Goes the Weasel out of his head. He's going to freak out! All around the opera house, the phantom throws a tantrum. The song won't die, he doesn't know why. Stop! Goes the phantom. The Lunchsack of Notre Dame. I'm stumped as to why we all lump this poor chump with the rest of the monsters just 'cause of his hump. It's not like he drains all the blood from your veins or sucks out your brains and then eats your remains. I bet when he packs all those brown paper sacks and he takes them for lunch, breakfast, dinner, or brunch, that he'll munch, snack, and chew on the same food as you. Just a hunch. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Henderson. The doctor sighed, his tie was tied, he fiddled with his combs. He hated all these dressy balls and crowded halls and homes. He couldn't dance. He found that fancy food just made him choke. The guests would heckle Jekyll if he tried to make a joke. The clock began to chime. The time was 8, and he was late. He'd rather go to bed instead of going out. But wait! The notion of a certain potion filled him with delight. Why stay inside when Mr. Hyde could go out for the night? Sure, Hyde was snide, he always lied, and women cried to see him. And yet it still was such a thrill when Jekyll got to be him. You should see him dance the polka, fancy folk avoid his feet, as he reels and whirls the girls around the hall and down the street. He laughed and mixed the draught that makes a gentleman a jerk, and thought a lot about the ball, but not about his work. 'Twas all his fault he added salt instead of crumbled skull. The vial of bile was pickle juice, and dill just made it dull. Alas, the glass of cream of evil mixed with powdered creep was really milk the maid had laid aside to help him sleep. He never knew. He drank the brew while running out the door, although he thought the beaker tasted weaker than before. He reached the ball and looked in all the mirrors at his head. It wasn't Hyde he spied inside, but Henderson instead. His shoulders stooped, his eyelids drooped, his face looked pooped and wan. Where the hair of Hyde was fried, this hair looked plastered on. What's done is done, sighed Henderson, and went to join the rest. Around the floor he stopped to bore the pants off every guest. He told a stale and endless tale that tested their endurance, topped that with pictures of his cat, then sold them all insurance. For Henderson possessed 1/10 the zest that Jekyll had, far less in fact. He lacked the personality of Plaid. The guests professed they needed rest, they had an early morning. They couldn't stay, they edged away, but then, without a warning, their way was blocked, the exit locked, with Henderson ahead. Oh, cruel ennui! He held the key, and wearily he said, "You know, the sight of all you people trying to get away has made me mindful of a funny yarn I read the other day. And when I mention yarn, you know, I really mean to say I read a story, not a yarn in any woolly sort of way. Although I think we'd all agree that yarn is thrilling, eh? I'd listen to a yarn about some yarn most any day. Alas, that's not the funny yarn I'm trying to convey. This tale is funny strange, not funny ha-ha, by the way. It seems a certain donkey living out in Santa Fe was made to toil the day away by pulling cargo in a dray. A dray is a sort of cart, you know. This one was filled with hay. But that's not really relevant. The thing I want to say is that this donkey in particular looked rather smart and gay. owing mostly to the fact he wore a polka-dot beret. And if any fellow tried to take the donkey's hat away, then the ass, that is the donkey, would get very cross and neigh. Wait, horses neigh, not donkeys. What I mean to say is bray. He would bray, not neigh, if someone took his polka-dot beret. Which reminds me of an anecdote I heard my milkman say. Zombie, zombie. Zoo. Zombie? Zombie. Zombie? Zombie! Samba. Zombie, samba, zombie, samba, zombie, mamba, mamba, mambo, zombie zoo. Rumba, rumba, zombie, samba, zombie, zimby, bambi, boo. Zombie, biza, bombi, zamba, bomba, zamba, zombie, bee! Bee, 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 bee! Bum. Zombie, zombie. The Phantom of the Opera can't get the girl from Ipanema out of his head. Bald and pale and masked and ugly, the Phantom of the Opera is writing, but when he knows that he can't compose, he goes, ah! Every song comes out a samba, although he wants to write an aria, so his top blows and he tears his clothes and goes, ah! The dentist. Poor son of Dracula. He's just a dud. His daddy is famous, but his name is Mud. For how much blood could a bloodsucker suck if a bloodsucker can't suck blood? Everything's fine if he sucks on the throat of a dog or a hog or a cat or a goat, but a cold-blooded thing like a lizard or snake makes his head start to hurt and his fangs really ache. Franken Jr. was shocked. "You'll have to go see the worst monster of all. She's much worse than me. Her fingers are hooks, needles, and spears. Her voice is a high buzzing whine in your ears. Instead of a head, there's a big glowing eye," the Franken boy said with a shuddering sigh. "She doesn't sound scary," said Dracula's son. "Not scary like horses or steaks or the sun." So he made his appointment for just after dark at the New Transylvania Medical Park. "It's awful," he whispered. "So teary and bright. You'd think it would kill them to turn off a light. They need some nice coffins. It's really a shame," young Dracula said as the nurse called his name. He followed inside, and before he could hide, the dentist was standing there right by his side. A note to the timid, or just faint of heart. This story has come to the frightening part. Stop reading. Now put the book down. This is scary. Peligro. Use caution. Beware and be wary. Still here? Very well. Little Drac stood in terror. He knew now he'd made the most horrible error. If he weren't undead, he'd have wanted to die. She was terrible, awful. She smiled and said hi. Her voice was a sweet lilting song in his ears. Her fingers were fingers, not needles or spears. That big glowing eye was a lamp, not a head. It was all so much worse than the Franken boy said. Young Drac couldn't move, so she forced him to sit. "Open wide now," she told him. "This won't hurt a bit." "You aren't flossing," she scolded, and Dracula blushed. "And honestly, when was the last time you brushed? You really must brush after every bite. See, a cavity's formed in this fang on the right. It needs to be mended, and so if you're willing, I'll patch it right up with a small silver filling." "A filling? With silver?" Drac wanted to shout. "The werewolves will hate me. I've got to get out." He changed to a bat. He flew up and away. The dentist said, "Fine. We won't do it today, but get it fixed soon. You'll be glad that you did. Now here, take a sucker. You've been a good kid." He flew from the office and homeward he raced. He sucked on the sucker and gagged at the taste. He'd hoped it was flavored like blood or like liver. "How scary! It's cherry!" he thought with a shiver. Drac knew it was true as he spat and he cursed. My dad may be bad, but the dentist's the worst. The Phantom of the Opera is considering giving up music and doing his haunting somewhere else. There was a phantom had a song and Bingo was his name. Oh, B-I-N-G-O, see, I told you so. B-I-N-G-O by Jingo, what a lame-o. It bugged the phantom all night long, he never was the same. Oh, his cheeks don't show, if they did though, we'd see them glow flamingo pink with shame. Oh, at least the phantom knows it's wrong, it's caused him to proclaim. Oh, I'll have no peace and so I'll just go and haunt a bingo game. Oh, Bigfoot can't believe you called him Yeti just now. Wait, what did you say? The Yeti? No way. I know that I'm going a little bit gray, though I'm told all the time I can still pass for 30. But Yeti's all white, except when he's dirty. Man, is he dirty. You might as well know. The Yeti is sweaty, despite all the snow. They call him abominable for a reason. That snowman's B.O. man in every season. Hey, sorry I shouted. You gave me a fright. You don't really think we're that similar, right? Godzilla ga watashi no Honda ni unko shita. Godzilla pooped on my Honda. Don't ever go to Tokyo. I just heard on the radio that Ghidorah has taken wing to fight some sort of turtle thing. And as the monster flew away, they saw a zipper plain as day. It seems perhaps these giant brutes are giant men in suits. I swear I'm leaving Tokyo. I watched as just a week ago some robots crushed my mailbox flat. And only 2 days after that, a moth the size of Fuji goes and chews up all my Sunday clothes. I bought a mothball from the store. It won't fit through the door. And just last night, what did I see? Turdzilla, where my car should be. It's not so bad. I'm sure some dupe will pay for real Godzilla poop. I'll make a sign. Or better yet, I'll sell it on the internet. And when I've made enough, I'll go to any place but Tokyo. Unko? Sunday, Sunday. The end.